Hello everyone, welcome back. Now we are looking at the structure and organization of government, how government is structured in its establishment. All right? Yes, and under the structure and organization of government, we have three organs: the executive, the legislature, and of course the judiciary. All right? The executive organ of government is the organ of government that is into the formulation of policies, initiation of policies, and implementation of the same policies. All right? Now, who are the members of the executive organ? Members of the executive organ at the federal level include the president, the vice presidents, the ministers, the special advisors, the ambassadors, members of the armed forces. Then we talk about, the police force. All of them are members of the executive organ at the federal level. At the state level, members of the executive organ include the governor, the deputy governor, the commissioner, the special advisors. All right? All of them are members of the executive organ at the state level. All right? Then we are going to look at the functions of the executive organ. One of the functions of the executive organ is to make sure that they formulate policies, initiate policies, and then, what, as Tinubu came on board, what did he do? He formulated, he initiated a policy that there should be subsidy removal. He initiated it that subsidy should be removed. All right? And as he did it, members of the executive organ, the same what members of the executive, or the same executive organ, implement what the same law. And it is true, as we speak now, the subsidy has been removed. All right? It means they initiated the same policy, and they still make sure that the same policies are what implemented. All right? That's one thing about the executive organ of government. All right? Yes. And implementation of policies, we have discussed that. And the next one is maintenance of law and order. We have said this countless number of times. That one of the functions of the executive is to maintain law and order through the police force. All right? Through the police force. If you violate the law, the police officers are there to, deal with you. Then we talk about approval of top officials. All right? Yes, approval of top officials. So one of the functions of the executive to make sure that top officials are what? Approved by them. For example, if the ministers or the ministerial list is being submitted to the legislature, it is courtesy of approval by the president. If the president does not approve those persons in question in the ministerial list, he would have even removed them before submitting them to the what? National Assembly. All right? So they are approved too. Okay? So that's that. Then power of what? Pardon. All right? Power of pardon. The president, for example, has what we call prerogative of mercy powers, which we also call the quasi-judicial function. All right? Prerogative of mercy is the power of the president or the chief executive to pardon convicted criminals. It doesn't mean, or it doesn't matter whether you are in the prison already or you are at the point of being killed. All right? Yes, if the president comes out to say you should be pardoned, of course, immediately you are pardoned. All right? And that power exercised by the chief executive is called prerogative of mercy. Although it is the court that is supposed to do that, now that the executive is doing it, then we can say it is a semi-judicial function. But the right terminology is quasi-judicial function. All right? Now, we talk about budget preparation. It is the duty of the executive organ to prepare the budget. All right? Like 2024 budget, for example, is prepared by the president. All right? That's, member of the executive, and it submits to the National Assembly for ratification. All right? Or for approval. So that's that. And when you talk about budget, it talks about annual spendings of the government. It is prepared by the executive and submitted to the legislature for, approval. Then we talk about declaration of war. If there is problem in a country, It is left for the executive to declare war and state of emergency. All right? The president, for example, can declare war, state of emergency at any place, anytime, if there is problem. Okay? Even the governor can declare state of emergency in his own state as member of the executive. All right? Yes. If there is unrest or there is antagonism to peace, then we talk about representation. It is also the duty of the president to represent the country anywhere, or member of the executive to represent the country anywhere at any point in time. And that's why the president can represent us in the United Nations Organization General Assembly. You see the president is there and other heads of state they are present. And that's why you can see ambassadors. They represent, their countries in foreign lands. Okay? As I told you earlier, we have Nigerian ambassador to the US. The similar thing, we have the US ambassador to Nigeria. Okay? And that's how it is being run. So that's that. In our next class, we shall look at, other important things about government. Hello everyone, welcome back. We are still under executive organ of government, okay? And now, there is a powerful question on the board that says, how has the powers of the executive increased in recent times? That's increased powers of the executive. In what ways can you say, okay, the powers of the executive have increased through delegated legislation? Okay, delegated legislation refers to laws made outside the parliament. All right, ministers can actually make laws or laws under their ministries to make sure that the rules being set up are obeyed. Okay, yes, and if it is like that, that means the power of the executive has actually what? Increased, since minister is not part of the legislature. For the minister to have made law under his or her ministry alone, it is making the power of the executive to increase in recent time. If, for example, there is a policy on free education, all right, it is now left with the Minister of Education to make sure that he or she does something extra, making another law to make sure that that same law under free education is strictly followed. That extra law made by the minister under the Ministry of Education becomes a delegated legislation. And since the minister is a member of the executive organ, it has made the power of the executive to increase in recent time. And this is a very powerful WAEC question. All right, then we look at the power to initiate bill. The president can initiate bill. All right, the president can initiate bill on issues that concern the state. And what is the bill? A bill is an item of proposed legislation. It is law that is not yet law until it has undergone the several processes involved and to be assented to by the president. So president can initiate a bill subject to ratification by the National Assembly, after which it is sent back to the president for his assent before it becomes a law. So the initiation of the bill by the president, all right, has made the power of the executive to increase in recent time. The governor of a state can also initiate a bill, all right. Yes, and essentially, laws are to be made by the legislature. So if the president can now initiate the bill, that means the powers of the executive have actually increased in recent time. Then we talk about control of armed forces and police. Remember that in Nigeria, for example, the president is the commander-in-chief of armed forces. All right, as member of the executive organ, he controls member of the armed forces, the military personnel, the air force, the naval officers. The president is in charge of all of them, and of course the police. All right, so is their commander-in-chief. So that has made the power of the president to increase in recent time, or the power of the executive to increase in recent time. And what about the quasi-judicial function? Quasi, please take note, this word is not quasi, it is quasi. All right, quasi, that's semi-judicial function. I've told you, we have what they call granting of amnesty, for example, or power of the president or chief executive to pardon convicted criminal. If you are a criminal that has been convicted, the president or the governor has the right to actually bail you, all right, and then you'll be set free, all right. The judiciary is supposed to have that power to do so. Now that it is the executive that does so, that means it is a semi-judicial function that is carried out by the executive. That's why we call it quasi-judicial powers, all right. Now, these quasi-judicial powers is referred to as prerogative of mercy. And prerogative of mercy is the power of the president to pardon convicted criminal. And this has made the power of the executive organ to increase to in recent times. Then we have a policy making. All right. I've told you that one of the functions of the executive is to initiate or formulate policies. All right. For the executive to formulate policies, all right, like our president has done in recent time when he said that there should be no subsidy anymore, all right, it has made the power of the executive to increase, and Nigerians cried out, but till today the subsidy is still being removed, all right. So that's to show you how powerful the executive has become in recent time. An emergency period, the head of the executive, be it the governor or the president, has the right to declare state of emergency, all right, whenever there is what? Chaos or violence at any point in time. And this has also led to the increased powers of the executive organ in recent time. Okay, and that's that for this. We are still under executive. In our next class, we looked at another topic under executive organ. Hello everyone, welcome back. We are still looking at the executive organ of government, and this time we are looking at how the executive as an organ is being controlled. All right, how the executive organ of government is being controlled by the other organs or by the other agencies of government. Number one, we have judicial application. All right, now the judiciary, of course, can control the executive, all right, through different means. For example, if the president initiates bill, it is subject to ratification by the legislature. In that case, the executive organ is being controlled. Now, we have some different writs that can also control the executive from the judiciary. We have the writ of mandamus that compels the executive to do something. Then we have the writ of habeas corpus, the order that mandates that somebody cannot stay in police custody for more than 24 hours without trial. So all of those activities tend to control the activities of the executive organ of government. Then the Constitution. The Constitution is that document that specifies the manner in which the government should be run. In other words, it stipulates the modus operandi of government. All right, and members of the executive cannot go contrary to the Constitution. That means what is entrenched in the Constitution definitely will limit the powers of the executive. In that case, the Constitution controls the executive organ. The appointment subject to ratification. All right, ministers, appointment of ministers and ambassadors, and of course judicial officers are subject to ratification by the National Assembly. And in that case, the National Assembly controls the executive organ. Then what about impeachment or vote of no confidence? Through impeachment in a presidential system of government, the National Assembly can remove the head of the executive, which is the president. All right, through what we call two-thirds majority. And in a cabinet or parliamentary system, the prime minister and his member of the cabinet can be removed when the parliament pass a vote of no confidence on his government. All right, that means through impeachment in a presidential system or vote of no confidence in a parliamentary or cabinet system, the executive can be controlled by the lawmakers. Then we talk about change of government. Without election, no head of the executive can remain in office for 4 years. As a president or governor that you are, when you have been declared the winner of an election, you are allowed to stay in office for just 4 years. After which there will be change of government through another periodic election. All right? It therefore means that change of government can actually control the executive. No matter how powerful you are as a president, after 4 years you are leaving there, except you recontest and you win the same election for you to retain your seat. So change of government controls the power of the judicial, of the executive organ. Then we talk about the media. The media is always referred to as the fourth organ of government. All right, it puts the government at their toes. All right, to make them perform. All right, to this expectation of the masses. All right, by the time government is subject to criticism by the media houses, by the time they see their faces on newspaper every time and national TV about what they have done and what they are planning to do, of course they will actually retrace their steps to make sure they do the needful, to make sure things go on effectively as expected by the masses. Then we talk about sanction. Members of the executive too can be sanctioned. All right? Yes. For example, a minister can be hired and fired at the same time. All right? So that's that for the control of the executive. Okay? Now, the National Assembly can actually invite or a particular minister and question the minister on how the ministry is being run and what is going on in that very ministry. All right, and such a minister, through the antagonism or various oppositions they have to the minister from the National Assembly, can be sacked by the president. All right, directly or indirectly, that sack emanates from the National Assembly. So through that, the National Assembly can control the power of the executive. All right, so that's that. In our next class, we shall look at legislature as an organ of government.